So moving on, Craig, after the online test, you then get to hopefully be invited for the assessment centre. What would a assessment centre for Charityworks look like?
So it's a full day assessment centre, first of all, and we hold them across the UK. Essentially, an assessment centre is, first and foremost, it's our opportunity to finally meet you and to put a face to the name and to continue to assess against our competencies. So this whole process about assessing against those 8 competencies on the website, it starts essentially actually quite pleasantly, and it's quite an enjoyable experience. I know I say that assessment centres can be like. We spend a good couple of hours in the morning in an assessment centre just briefing you about the non-profit sector, giving you an opportunity to network with some of our host organisations, and actually not doing a great deal of assessment for those first couple of hours. And that's partly to get you up to speed about the programme, but it's partly also to help you to see whether or not the sector is a good fit for you. So, and hopefully it enables you to relax. And then we carry out a number of exercises. So for the most part, those exercises, there are many that are group-based, and those group-based exercises are basically us trying to find out how you would work well, such as in a team-based situation or when you have to do some kind of presentation to a small group. We conduct a panel interview. So somebody like myself from the Charityworks team and one of our partner employers will be there to ask you some competency-based interview questions. And there are also written exercises to carry out on the day. They're half-an-hour written exercises where we will ask you a question, sit you in a room that's kind of like an exam-style setting, and you rotate between your interviews and those questions. And it's a full-day experience. And actually what we find is probably the most enjoyable part is the fact that you're suddenly in a room with a lot of socially minded people that care a lot about the non-profit sector. Yeah. And time again, people feel just comfortable and that they're in a really great place. But of course, you're there to be assessed. And my sort of general tips and thoughts around assessment centres are, firstly, be yourself, because we've noticed it before and we would definitely notice again if you're lacking a level of authenticity or you're trying to play a particular role, and we do see that from time to time. Be aware that assessment carries on throughout the day, so even when we're not formally assessing you, you're in a professional environment, so maintain that level of professionalism. And actually, possibly the best piece of advice I can give is to be mindful of your what we would call overdone strengths. So actually, if you're naturally confident, you might need to be countering tendencies throughout the day to be overpowering in a group exercise. If you're less confident, it might be that you're finding ways in which you can contribute and intervene in discussion. You know, some people will take on the role of a timekeeper, for example, if they're not particularly confident to lead a discussion. Never think that just because it's a leadership development program, we're looking for the most boisterous and candidate, because we're definitely not. We like a mix.
I think The Apprentice has a lot to answer for. You get some people who tend to think that you need to be walk in and be the alpha male or female and take control. And as the thing I always tell the people I coach is, in an assessment centre situation, if there's 10 good candidates, there'll probably be 10 job offers. There doesn't tend to be a limit on the number of people you can accept. So it's in your interest to bring out the strengths of the people around you as well. So don't just see it as a competition, because it's not.
Absolutely. It's really good advice, James. And actually, we see it particularly at the Charityworks Assessment Centre, that there is a little bit of sense of collaboration. And we've rarely seen people, and I've witnessed it at other assessment centres, or actually there is whilst it is a highly competitive process, what we find is that people tend to be more encouraging of one another. And I think that's definitely the best place to be. I mean, we could see 30 amazing candidates at one assessment centre, and we could make a programme offer to all 30. It just completely depends on the day. So yeah, definitely very good advice.
And how do people tend to let themselves down at this stage? What are some of the common things where you think, you shouldn't have been doing that, or if only you've been doing X?
Yeah, so actually, I think at assessment centre, one thing I would say that people sometimes think they're letting themselves down for, but actually they probably aren't in the long run, is the initial bit of nerves at the start of the day. We kind of are aware that that's happening, and we're factoring that in. But I think what possibly is the way that people would let themselves down the most is if they don't stay relevant during an exercise. So actually, it's those people that kind of would choose to withdraw from an exercise. And actually, even if you're in a group where somebody's really confident and they're almost sort of taking over, we're aware of that and we're watching that, and people that do that aren't scoring extremely highly. So from our perspective, we want to make sure that you're continuing to stay relevant, to keep talking, keep getting your opinion across, make suggestions, make yourself useful during the task of the exercise. I think the worst thing that you can do as an exercise is withdraw, and actually at the end, when we come to discuss the candidates, we don't really know what you did, because during that process, it's a very finite piece of time, and though we're assessing you across the day and you'll have plenty of opportunities to prove us wrong, in an exercise you might have 20 minutes, and if you don't say anything for 15 of them, it's a bit of a missed opportunity. So definitely stay relevant. It's possibly my strongest piece of advice.
No, that is good advice, and I like what you mentioned where you said there's plenty of opportunities over the course of the day. I've been in assessment centres where people have come in nervous, and the first stage, whatever it's been, hasn't gone well, and then you can almost see their confidence ebb away, and they think, oh no, that's not gone well, so and you can see they're worried about it, and they think it's all over because they've made one mistake. If you've got over the course of the day, you can afford to fluff one of the exercises if you do well in the other ones.
Of course you can. And we've seen it actually time and time again. We have some really, really high ranking candidates that do great, that actually at one point in the assessment, a particular activity might have just not been for them, or it might not have played to their strengths. And we know not everybody has the same strengths. Some people will perform better in written exercises than they will in a group activity. And it's definitely true that if you're in that position, and you're in an assessment centre and something does go wrong, don't worry about it. Pick yourself up and move on to the next exercise. It certainly hasn't written you off for the day.
See, listeners, so make sure you're going with the right mindset, and you stay confident throughout the course of the assessment centre.